Well, boys, I've been wanting to make this video for a little while. Why should you hook up your truck? So here we go. Of course, Paul and his buddy lately have been, I don't know if we should be proud of this or dumb. I was thinking Saturday, man. It's like 6:10, 6:11 in the morning, and we're out going to the gym. Anyway, so I figured I got a couple minutes. I'll share this with you. Here, let's get this thing stabilized. Why should you hook up to the outlet? You know what I mean? Your oil heater, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people think it's a convenience thing, and it really isn't. You guys got to understand, and I'm not saying you guys don't. For those guys that are curious and want to know, the true thing here is the engine, the oil being so thick that it's not flowing good enough, you know. So when the oil doesn't flow good enough, guys, I'm diving right into it. When the oil doesn't flow good enough, you're not protecting yourself. Let's keep it that way. The engine isn't protecting itself when the oil's not flowing, and therefore you get damage. There's all kinds of versions. Majority, like I said, is convenience. A lot of people are concerned that they won't be able to start their trucks, they won't be able to do this, they won't be able. It's great. I mean, I can understand the concern for the older trucks. These newer trucks, I mean, the worst I've started a truck in one of these is -20 out in Montana, and it started right up, and it was fine, you know. So as far as starting, that's not my issue. My issue is the damage that it creates, especially a truck like mine that breathes well. It would have a really hard time. You guys saw me pull out. Look at this. So 145. This truck ran for, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes. Now, if this truck were not to be plugged in, I would be in a world of trouble right now. And what I mean by world of trouble is understanding mechanics. The oil wouldn't be even at 100 degrees. Shoot, it wouldn't even be at 70, you know. And yeah, I'm lucky enough it's 36 degrees now, but last night I think it was in the high 20s. And that's another question that I should answer for you guys. When should you plug in your truck? I do 20s because I feel like that's the temperature that as soon as it starts dipping into the 20s, this truck has a really hard time warming itself up, you know. And you got to do what you got to do. Back to my theory of why I plug in my trucks instead of the convenience that everyone's concerned about. So we got that covered. The new trucks start just fine. You don't need to plug them in to start them. So we got that out of the way. So what the heck is the real reason, Paul? What are you talking about? Back to what I was saying about the oil. You know, the oil doesn't flow. It causes so much damage. Also, some might argue with me or whatever, just my personal preference. Oil leaks are created most often. Head gaskets are blown most often when the engine's not up to operating temp. Let's just hypothetically say I didn't plug in my truck and I got in and I started driving, and that's fine and all, but over time gaskets get they just get ruined faster, should I say. They get blown out faster. Gaskets like O-rings and stuff like that. Now, head gaskets, it would be a concern for towing. You know, if I started my truck, didn't let it warm up well enough, metals aren't expanding, I started towing. So that's extreme case. Just an average Joe driving a pickup. Let's just stick to that story, Paul. You know, oil leaks, you're a lot more prone to oil leaks because, you know, the rubbers, the metals, they're not expanding, and all of a sudden you're starting to push oil through there, throw oil, and stuff like that. And I know that's a fact. For myself, I ain't no scientist, I can prove it to you guys, but just understanding basics, that they haven't expanded and you're already pushing fluids through there, it will happen, and you will blow gaskets soon. So, but the biggest of the biggest reason for me is the fact that, you know, I need to go, understanding mechanics, the truck's not ready to go, I jump and I still drive it. It ain't gonna be end of the world. You ain't gonna grenade that truck. Oh guys, here we go again. And what I mean here we go again is Paul's pulling into Starbucks, man. Starbucks got to start sponsoring me. So back to what I was saying, it's not end of the world. You're not going to ruin the engine overnight, or 1, 2, 10 time deal. You're just going to shorten the life of the engine, and help me God not to forget what my thought was. I'm going to put y'all on pause here. Hold on tight. All right, what was I talking about? Oh, the biggest thing of the biggest issue with a cold engine, your combustion. Okay, it just leads to so many things, and I'm fortunate to have another 10 minutes, which I hope I don't take up all 10 minutes to talk to you guys about this. It's a little bit here, and here, and oil not being warm enough and flowing. B, oil not being warm enough and vaporizing all those toxins and all those vapors, and very simply put, just not warm enough to get the water out of the oil. Okay, I'll just keep it as simple as possible. You guys remember when I was under the truck and I showed you the breather tube, how wide it was from condensation? I mean, this truck was plugged in. Hold on a second, guys, I'm by the window. I'll put you on pause. Alrighty, back to what I was saying. The oil isn't warm enough and ain't vaporizing all the water as simple as possible. And as I said, I was under the truck and I was showing you my breather tube. Guys, that's what happens. That's what happens when you don't run your truck long enough. And for rule of thumb, that's what happens when you bring up your truck to, let's say, 168 right now, right? I got 5-10 minute drive up ahead of me. This oil is gonna barely touch 180. Or excuse me, I was showing my coolant. My coolant's barely gonna touch 180 by the time I get there. My oil is exactly 10 degrees cooler. Well, I want to show you guys before I mount it. 158 is my oil. I'm lucky to see 170, 175 by the time I arrive to the gym. That's it. What am I gonna sit there and idle my truck and wait for it to warm up? No, I'm gonna shut down the truck. Now keep in mind, this truck was plugged in, and I am gonna drive this truck for like 15 minutes. So I do it once, I do it twice, I do you're just accumulating a bunch of, let's just call it bad molecules in your oil, and then people are upset because something's not serving them right. Well, you're not treating it right, and that's what it comes down to, guys. It's just these little things, they add up, and the end result, you get a big old screw you type of deal, and I really hate putting it that way or expressing it that way, but that's what it is. That's what it really is. That's what it comes down to. So we got the oil out of the way. Then we got the combustion chamber. Okay, now this starts leaning towards idling your truck in cold temperatures as well. Why do you think these things have automatic high idle? The computer could register the fact that it's not staying warm, the fact that it can't be warm. So the computer kicks in and makes sure that combustion chamber stays warm. Guys, just follow with me or stay with me. This leads back to what I just talked about a minute ago. Your oil, your cylinder wall is getting washed out. Now it might be a little too out of reach for some guys with understanding the combustion, where the explosion happens and how your engine runs. It might be out of range on temperature. What that means, it's not burning clean. If it's not burning clean, that means there's excess fuel. It goes right back to your oil getting, polluted, so if we could say so. Your oil's getting bad molecules. Your oil's getting watered down. It's not really watered down. I'd call it fuel down, but you guys know exactly what I'm trying to point at here. And things go to crap. Diesel trucks need their temperatures, and need to be ran. Diesel trucks are not meant to be, pucked around town and start-stop kind of deal. That's where you get a gasser. You need to start a diesel truck and you need to run it. As long as you start a diesel truck and run it and keep it within operating temps, meaning not too cold and not too hot, I see no reason why these engines shouldn't last 1,000,000 miles. Why do the older engines last 1,000,000 miles? Fairly often is because they could breathe, and so it didn't take much. With this whole DEF stuff, it's not plugged up to where it's not on the other side of the spectrum, where it's overheating in the summer and all this stuff. So let's stay focused there. I'm just trying to do a more in-depth video for y'all, and I'm trying not to go too far off here. So plugging in is very important for the longevity of your truck. on a global aspect, summer, fall, winter, doesn't matter, the cold starts is what damages your engine the most. That's it. It's these out of range temperatures that hurt your engine the most. So that's what it is. It's not the comfort, man. I got butt warmers and I got, heated steering wheel. 5 minutes, they're all good to go, right? No, the engine isn't. The engine needs that heat. If my truck wouldn't be able to breathe as well, it'd probably warm up better, and I, probably wouldn't hook it up till the 10s. Probably. I don't know for a fact. It's been so long that I don't really know how it would go the other way. But that's what I gotta advise you guys. Strongly advise you guys. Hook up your diesels and let them run. Yeah, a few times I'll have these short runs, but a lot of times I just hook up my truck and I go, with the trailer. Or, I go on a 2-3 hour trip. That's a lot more often. I don't know if I'm saying this right. It happens a lot more often than rare. I'm not one of those guys that takes my truck out of town once a month or takes my truck out of town once a year. I take my truck out of town weekly basis. All right. State Trooper probably ain't too happy, so hold on a second, guys. Let's get this thing mounted. It's actually a sheriff. Let's get this thing mounted so it's a hands-free deal. Alrighty, boys. Anywho's, so that's the short, informative gist of this. A lot of people are misled. A lot of people think the engine's going to be perfectly fine, or I'm going to be perfectly fine with quote unquote driving with a colder engine. Yeah, you will. You'll be fine. Your engine won't. And to do a small little recap, you're not going to grind your truck. Don't worry about it. But, if you want to do a long run thing, if you want to squeeze the most miles out of that engine, make sure you warm them up. And I'll touch a little bit on that warmth. Guys, just because your engine's nice and toasty and you've idled it for an hour, in an extreme case, and everything's nice and warm, doesn't mean the rest of the components are warm. You get into that truck, take it easy for the first, 5-10 minutes. Let the differentials, let the transfer case, the tranny. I know the tranny is going to be a little bit warm, but don't fool yourselves, guys. Get into that truck, warm it up. Warm it up by driving it is what I mean, for 5-10 minutes before you let it have. I'm talking about starting out with a well-warm engine, meaning it was plugged in and then you idled it. There's no reason why this engine shouldn't get up to the 130s, 40s, from the get-go. So, anyways, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's my version of why I plug in my truck. And my work trucks maybe get plugged in once a year. Maybe. My work trucks, I could pretty much say they never get plugged in. Why? Because the guy comes out there, starts it, the truck has a cold start maybe once a day, maybe, and then it just runs for the rest of the day. I don't suspect, I know some of my trucks don't get shut off for days, so when I go out to buy new trucks, I could care less if that thing has a grid heater, or not a grid heater, excuse me, what am I talking about, a oil heater, because I'm not going to use it. In an extreme case, let's just hypothetically say it's going to be, negative so and so much degrees. Yeah, I'd like to hook up my trucks, but I haven't been there, And let's just say my guy, like that guy in Montana, those negative 20, he just said, screw it, man, I'm getting a hotel. What do you want me to do with the truck? I'm like, dude, don't worry about it. He's like, are you sure? He's like, I could just let it run for the night. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. And then I'm like, shoot, I should have let him, like, oh, frick, screw it. He's already in bed already. Dude, negative 20, the guy gets out there, starts the truck like it's nobody's business, and lets it run, warm up, and off he goes. Is it the right thing to do? Probably not. If I would have given him more thought, I probably would have told him, dude, let that thing run, lock the doors, and go to bed, There's a GPS tracker on it, if anyone dares to drive out with it. On the flip side, the same guy, meaning me, the owner, nearly plugs this thing every night. Why? Because I know majority of the days I'm not going anywhere far, so I need to keep that sucker warm. So yeah, that's it. That's all I had to share. I'm out, guys. I gotta go work now and keep my body in shape, as much as it's out of shape, but we're working on it, so one day we'll succeed, right? God bless you. Y'all have a mighty fine day and enjoy life.